Greetings, everyone. Today is Wednesday, April 23rd, 2014. In this video, I want to talk about many of the things I have shown you in my videos and the odds of them happening in the next 7 years. The first thing I want to talk about is Revelation 12. This was the first thing that was found. This sign has been investigated very well. It only happens one time from the time Jesus was born until 6,000 years in our future. Now, that's not to say that this happens before Christ's birth or after the 6,000 years. It's just that those 8,000 years have actually been searched for this sign. Now, if we just consider those 8,000 years that this could happen one time, that's about 1 in 3 million. Now, I actually believe it's much more than that, but we're going to go with 3 million in this video. If we pay attention to where the sun, the moon, and each of the wandering stars is located, as well as being within the woman, the odds go way higher. Also, if you pay attention to all the signs on this page and notice where the sun, the moon, and the stars are located, every single one of them is very particular. Every piece is in its place. They're not just jumbled around in a big mess. You should also notice what is missing from some of these signs. For instance, Saturn is not here, here, or here. Mars is not here or here, and neither should they be. The sun, the moon, the planets, and the constellations are all very specific in their locations in every one of these signs. What are the odds of that? Also, what are the odds that each one of these signs has specific meaning as to the time that they are located? So let's go back to this Revelation 12 sign. If this sign is supposed to be in the middle of the tribulation, and we know that Jesus comes back at the end of the tribulation, then somewhere about 3.5 years after this, we should be able to find Matthew 24:30's sign of the Son of Man. What are the odds that 3.5 years after this sign, we could find a cross up in the heavens? Now, I believe this sign is actually more rare than this sign. Every single year, the sun comes by and clothes the woman, and the moon is under her feet. This sign does not use any of the constellations. It is totally made up of the sun, the moon, and 4 of the planets. That's kind of why I think it's more rare than this one. Now, we only have 2 crosses that have shown up so far. This one, and they're both different. But I believe this one would be more rare than this, but we're going to say this is about 1 in 3 million, kind of like this one. So if we have a 1 in 3 million sign, followed 3.5 years later by another 1 in 3 million sign, that's the equivalent of 1 in almost 9 trillion. The odds are kind of high to have that happen like that. And if those odds are not high enough, what are the odds that we could find Revelation 12, 3-6 sign of a fiery dragon standing in front of the woman as she's about to give birth? And then finding the end of that sign of the child being caught away up to God's throne. And what are the odds the sun would fulfill the rest of Revelation 12, 3-6, the 7 heads, the 10 horns, the 7 crowns, and how his tail draws down 1/3 of the stars and casts them to the earth? What are the odds that we could find an eclipse for Matthew 24:29 that would fit with Matthew 24:30? And what are the odds that between that eclipse and this God's throne sign that we would be able to find 7 eclipses, not 6 or 8, that would fulfill Revelation 15:1? And then what are the odds that I could take this 7th bowl, work it in with Matthew 24:22 shortened days, and make 4 of the day counts come back into alignment with this sign, and 2 to this sign? And then what are the odds that I could take 4 of the day counts and make them count from a sign to another sign without the shortened days and have them land on this sign, and 2 to this sign? What are the odds that these would pair up the way they do, with 1 day count going from a sign to the sign without the shortened days, and 1 day count going from a sign and getting shortened back into and landing on that sign, and that happening 4 times? And what would be the odds that these paired up verses would not only be talking about the same thing, but also be talking about what is shown in these signs. What are the odds that all 10 of these day counts out of the Bible would count from one sign in the heavens to another sign in the heavens, and not one of them would be one day off? What are the odds that I would take Daniel 8:14 from this point in time and count back 2,300 days to try to find the start of the sacrifices, and that would land on the day of dedication of animals on the Hebrew calendar? What are the odds that 7 years before this sign, exact to the day, we would find this little sign up in the heavens? It would be within the tetrad. It would be Israel's 66th birthday, second Passover, and all this other stuff. What are the odds of that? And last but not least, what are the odds that all of this stuff, the signs in the heavens, the day counts and everything, would start right after we hit the 7th millennium? Now, I want you to know that I have left a bunch of information out of this. There is a bunch more stuff that I have left out that is against the odds that all of this can happen the way it does. So in conclusion, this is what I see. We have just started the 7th millennium. In the first 7 years of the 7th millennium, we see all of the signs talked about in the Bible showing up, as well as a bunch of others that seem to fit with those signs. We also see the 10 day counts out of the Bible fitting within this 7-year period, and they're counting between these signs. The odds of all of these things happening together are astronomically impossible unless God's hand is involved in it.